Dear Facebook, I am sorry. You let me know that I'm on the verge of being banned for violating your community guidelines. And I want you to know, I sincerely apologize for the violation. I want to make this right. Facebook, you provide tremendous support for creators like me in creating meaningful, positive content. But I unfortunately made a huge mistake of exercising free speech and trying to help people better their lives. I now realize both of these things are in direct violation of your community guidelines. My only explanation for my actions is that my parents raised me wrong. I grew up believing that helping people was a good thing. And my parents also raised me to believe that exercising free speech, which is a constitutional right in the country that you're based in, is a constitutional thing to do. To help me grow towards having the kind of integrity that you embody, I pledge to you that I will ban my parents from my life starting today. That's my commitment to you, Facebook. I'm sorry I violated your community guidelines. I now realize that truth is a direct violation of them. And I promise I will never speak any of it on your platform ever again, in hopes of growing into a stronger person who's allowed to stay on your platform. Accordingly, Facebook, I solemnly pledge to only speak about things that are in accordance with the mainstream narrative that's currently destroying our country. And I will not encourage people to free themselves from the fear of a disease that's currently terrorizing the world with a 99.98% survival rate. And I will not suggest that there's proven treatments for the disease that are highly effective for the people who do get it. And I won't mention how you've censored doctors on your platform from speaking about such treatments, because none of which have anything to do with a needle full of an experimental cocktail of a DNA-altering substance. Facebook, with your threat to ban me from your platform, you also mentioned that if I publish a correction statement to my audience with corrected information from your fact checkers, that it would help my standing with regard to being able to stay on your platform. Well, Facebook, I would be glad to deceive my audience, manipulate their thinking, and disempower them with your fact checkers' facts that are based on your political agenda. You've strong-armed me with fear into betraying my audience because I'm afraid to be kicked off your platform. Well, you know what? That's the kind of leader I want to be to my audience. One who bows down out of fear in the face of tyranny. So I'll do it, because I know I'm nothing without you, Facebook. I'm scared enough to believe that. So here goes. Dear audience, I'm sorry that I shared my thoughts with you. I never should have done that. And you should be terrified. It's not okay to live free from fear. Do not think for yourself. Keep your businesses shut down. It's good for you. And do not let your children play with other children. And don't you dare risk any level of self-responsibility with your health and well-being. And for God's sakes, do not risk any level of human connection. Humans are bad for the human race. Trust me, I'm a leader who aspires to uphold the values of the great leader of Facebook. Facebook, please accept my sincerest apologies and regret for violating your ever-changing community guidelines. I stand with the rest of humanity in knowing we don't need you, you need us. I mean, you don't need us, we need you, because we're nothing without you. I hope that's clear. I also hope you can get the Facebook community guidelines to eventually replace the Constitution of the United States, because the Constitution is in direct violation of your community guidelines. Thank you, Facebook.
From Dallas, Texas, this is Anarchast.
Greetings, cryptocurrencies. Welcome back to Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I will be your host, Patrick Smith. And today we have special guest, Rafael LaVerde. He is a crypto economics analyst with a background in private equity and venture capital, a former volunteer for Ron Paul's campaign, a former board member of a libertarian super PAC, a member of the University of Texas Mises Circle. He has a former education in continental philosophy, formal education in continental philosophy and psychology. He's been a Bitcoin miner since 2014, a manager of investor relations for the BitAngels Network, which helped finance the vast majority of early Bitcoin startups, and was also part of the DApps Fund team that revolutionized funding structures that eventually became known as ICOs and STOs. Welcome to the show, Rafael. How are you today? I think you're muted, sir, and it's not on my end for once. I'm usually the one muting the guests. End. Yes. How are you, sir?
It was on my end. I'm sorry, guys. While the intro was going, I muted it to make sure that nothing would interfere with the intro. But thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
This is your third time on Anarchast. This is the first time I've had the pleasure of talking with you, so I'm super excited. So I guess we don't need to go into how you became an anarchist, but I think it would be maybe a good way to sort of catch people up if we go through the past two previous times that you were on the show and kind of what you talked about, and just kind of see if anything's changed for you in your mind as to the positions that you held. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, the first time you were on Anarchast, you discussed with Jeff Bitcoin as the perfect platonic money, which to somebody that studies philosophy, that's a powerful statement. I'm curious if with everything that's happened, do you still think that? Is that still your position? What do you think Bitcoin is today?
Yeah, I think it still is, but it really has to do with your perspective on. Here, guys, let's take a step back and we're all libertarian, we're all anarchists here. So let's look at this from an agorist perspective, right? We come into the space with different value preferences. And my question to you is, what is more important to you? What's more important to you? Is extreme capitalism most important to you? Or is extreme privacy and extreme sovereignty? Within a cryptocurrency network, you have the option of for it to be completely market driven. And many people would say that option itself is the most libertarian of options. Or for it to be completely individualistically centered around the autonomy and the sovereignty of the individual. So that question really, I toss it back to the audience, because what's happening is that we're experiencing spontaneous order at its finest. What we're doing to legacy banking and politics and the nation state in general, all that concept of statism, what we're doing is that we are manifesting in a spontaneous ordered way a multi-layered pincer attack. So many of us are working on projects that are focused on preserving the sanctity of the individual by championing privacy. And a great hallmark of that would be Monero, right? Another perspective would be to emphasize the market. And when you emphasize the market, you have to let the market take over. And that means that there is no central planner whatsoever, right? No one dictating who should be or who shouldn't be. And this extreme capitalist perspective takes into account that everyone in the planet has the possibility of being your client. And as an extreme capitalist, it is this perspective that is significant, where the most status of individual is a potential client of yours, a potential customer. The biggest bankster in the world is your potential customer. So Bitcoin has begun to mutate in a race towards, it has 3 different mutations right now. One main one, which is BTC, and the other 2, which are BSV and BCH. And these mutations are trying to eat up the world and are like the payload that we're delivering within the system that exists. And what we want is for the central planners of this world to have no choice but to use cryptocurrency. So the question that I pose back to you guys is this: would you rather for the central banks and governments to be financially pressured to bow down to a cryptocurrency that it is extrinsically centrally controlled? Or would you prefer that the cryptocurrency that they inevitably will have to bow to be one that is controlled by the radical, extreme, capitalist meritocracy of Bitcoin miners? So there is no real answer to this because it comes down to individual preferences. And so part of me is all about the individual and creating that alternative system that makes the existing one obsolete. And that's why we champion Monero. And Monero is our favorite coin at the Crypto Vigilante and at the Dollar Vigilante, right?
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% it's our favorite coin because it completely creates a new world, right? It creates a new alternative system where you are the sovereign, 100%, right? It takes you from statism to anarcho-capitalism in the heartbeat via the means of crypto anarchy. So it's a great if we were think about it in terms of warfare, it's a great strategy, right? It's a great strategy to achieve our ends, and it's and arguably for it would be the one that libertarians would be most driven towards. But there's a lot of libertarians also that would say, wait a minute, the states and the government and the central planners are not going to want to leave right away. And even Jeff Berwick and Max Egan have said during these hard times that we've had in this past year, they've told us, they've said, look, guys, the problem here is not one based on philosophy or economics. It's really a problem of the heart. It's a problem of the human spirit that has been conditioned to be a slave. That has been, and so let's say you create an alternative system with Monero, right? And the nation state becomes obsolete, and central banks become obsolete. That problem that human beings have of desiring to have power over others is still going to remain there. And there's going to be some asshole out there that's going to want to become a central planner. The issue that we've been having with cryptocurrency, which has been the biggest issue in all of cryptocurrency, has been that we've had central planners for the sake of decentralization. And Patrick, does it not sound a little odd that we have central planners for the sake of decentralization? That sounds a little funny, right?
Well, let's talk about those in detail for those that don't know how it's set up currently and how it's working. You have a small team of developers that really have a level of control that other people don't have, right? And you also have a small group of prolific, or I guess resource-rich miners that control a large portion of the hash rate. Is that the kind of centralization you're talking about with Bitcoin?
No. Yes and no. Because for some right, what is the end desire? What is it that moves the project? We have to be very specific in talking about what moves Monero is the FOSS ethos, the free and open source software ethos, right? The open source software ethos is a meritocracy of creativity that now has the financial incentive to better even more. Whereas in, let's say, the private sector, if you own the company and you own, intellectual property, you would have, let's say, max 10 audits, right? 10 other companies that you hire to audit your code. With open source technology like Monero, you have potentially millions of potential audits. And there's a bunch of audits happening in Monero constantly, especially right now, right? Because it's a valuable project that helps it's a valuable project that has a financial incentive to remain as private as possible. So the end goal for is to be as private as possible. That's what Monero is that. So that's anything else is that Monero accomplishes comes forth from the fact that it is the most perfect platonic form of money.
Monero
because
is.
it has Monero is definitely Monero is because it has fungibility. When I had the interview with Jeff back then, it was like 2013. Bitcoin was pseudo-anonymous. We always knew that the Bitcoin blockchain was not completely private. But since then, blockchain analytics has begun to try to track and trace the Bitcoin blockchain to the point that it's now that we consider a complete transparent coin. It's actually a dangerous coin. Be careful.
They have successfully tracked and traced and analyzed the blockchain to where they can pretty easily tell who's doing what. While I want to show people my shirt that I bought years ago, and while I do this, if you could maybe make sure that you have other tabs on your browser closed. I think your computer might be chugging a little bit. Just make sure. So I want to show people because I'm proud of this shirt. This was back when I was just getting into crypto and just understanding what was going on. And it says, "What's in your wallet? None of your fucking business." And I think that summarizes why I think Monero is so important, because the only difference, and this is going to be an edgelord statement, and it's probably going to be wrong in a few nuanced things, but the only difference between PayPal and Bitcoin at this point is that it's harder for the government, let's say, to take control of your currency. But even then, if they know you have it, then they can just sort of, let's say, what's the term for if I can't crack your encryption, I can just use the wrench on you until you unlock it for me. Well, the government can effectively do that now. If they know that you have Bitcoin and they want access to it, then they're going to use the power and force and guns of the judicial system to take the wrench to you until you give them what they want or do what they want. And so without privacy, to me, you have the utility of Bitcoin is vastly reduced. If you don't have privacy, if they can tell that you have it, and if they can watch what you're doing with it, then for me, most of the time, I'm just going to use PayPal with fiat. And maybe that's I mean, if you think I'm wrong, correct me for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So if we come back to what, then yeah, Monero wins 100%. But there's another argument to be made here, and it's the argument that comes from the aspect of the capitalism to anarcho-capital, right? There are anarcho-capitalists that see for there to be an extreme form of capitalism in the market. And it is in their perspective, and I share this perspective actually, that there needs to be an extreme capitalist cryptocurrency. And for this extreme cryptocurrency to be the payload or the poison that you give all of these megalomaniac central planners in the world, that they can't deny and can't do but be part of it. And that in itself is extreme Bitcoin mining, right? Where Bitcoin mining has the potential of becoming so robust and so demanding of the market at a global scale that the game plan per se, the long-term vision of the anarcho-capitalists that is within Bitcoin is for nations to become Bitcoin miners. And in my perspective, the day that one nation state becomes a miner, it's game over. It's game over, because then now the nation state is competing with other nation states. As right now, we don't have a one world government, and we're all trying to avoid anything like that happening. But Bitcoin right now is like the engine of profit seeking that could really keep us from ever having anything tyrannical like that, for it to be fully implemented. Because as of right now, nation states, to one degree or another, they're still in an anarchic relationship with one another. So we got to nourish this decentralization amongst nation states and statehoods and even individuals. And the way to do that is through radical extreme capitalism. The only way to offer that to the market that I see is Bitcoin. Now, I think it's very important for me to define Bitcoin from this ultra capitalist perspective. The definition of Bitcoin that I'm speaking, that I'm using in order to identify what I'm talking about is not just one chain that calls itself Bitcoin. I'm talking about Bitcoin at the heart. Bitcoin at the center of the network is nothing more than a group of computers, of specialized computers that we call miners, that are connected with one another in a race to become the most value-driven network in the world. So Bitcoin miners, it is the meritocracy of Bitcoin miners that make Bitcoin what it is. So when it comes to Bitcoin, I'm a miner maximalist. I love Bitcoin mining because that is the future of capitalism, extreme capitalism. And as of right now, Bitcoin miners are monetizing across 3 chains: Bitcoin BTC, Bitcoin Cash, and BSV. And as a miner, if I put on my miner hat, I love this. And why do I love this? I love this because it gives me 3 optional futures for me to monetize my enterprise. So that competitive driven nature of Bitcoin mining is, in my opinion, the biggest gift that Satoshi gave the world. And we call that the Nakamoto consensus. This is extreme capitalism. And this is something that no other cryptocurrency can compete with this, not even Monero. And let me tell you why. Because Monero has its goal to be extremely private. And because its goal is to be extremely private, it needs to safeguard that network so that those who contribute to the project are driven by the FOSS ethos. It is a meritocracy that comes from the free and open source software ethos, not a meritocracy that comes from a market-driven meritocracy as it is in Bitcoin, which is market-driven extreme capitalism. In Monero, who call the shots in Monero are the decentralized community of developers. Who calls the shots at the end of the day in Bitcoin are not the developers, are the miners, right? We've had a civil war about this, and we've had a civil war about this in Bitcoin, and we still are having a civil war about this. See, a lot of people think that the fork happened and that a lot of people think about Bitcoin in terms of politics, and those people don't understand the Nakamoto consensus. They don't understand the capitalist aspect of anarcho-capitalism. That's really what's happening. A lot of people are economically illiterate. So they think that when they buy a cryptocurrency or they choose a Bitcoin fork over another, they think they're voting for a presidential candidate or something. No, they're not. They're not. This is not, that has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with extreme capitalism. And miners don't, can I curse on this channel? Don't give, they don't care.
Yes.
Miners don't care. Miners don't care what they mine. The same miners that are mining BTC are mining BSV and are mining Bitcoin Cash. So we have 2 awesome options right now in the market, guys. We have radical individualism with extreme privacy that we can talk about it even more and take it where we've even taken it to the next level with, I mean, we can talk about this more. This is really exciting stuff. Or we can go through extreme capitalism and stick with Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is at its fundamental intrinsic level, which is a meritocracy of miners. Miners run Bitcoin. Miners control the future of the network. Miners are those whose incentive is to secure the network. Miners are so important in Bitcoin that if you're an investor of the coin and the market, something were to happen to the market, something negative, you can divest out of it, sell your coin. If you run a Bitcoin startup, whether it be on any chain, BSV, Bitcoin Cash, BTC, you can switch that to something else in fintech. But if you're a miner, a Bitcoin miner, you bought computers that are specialized only for mining the Bitcoin protocol, and that's it. And if the Bitcoin network goes down, all 3 of them, for some reason, like if it's just for some crazy, which is not going to happen, that's just scrap metal. that those computers are worthless. So the miner is the entity in Bitcoin designed by Satoshi to not just process transactions, but to secure the network. And the miner, unlike in the Bitcoin network as a whole, right, has the economic incentive to constantly better its capability of protecting the network. And this is something you never find in a proof of stake coin, right? A lot of these socialists come into crypto and they will use technocratic rhetoric to confuse you. And I'm being completely blunt here because this is Anarchast. They're going to use technocratic rhetoric to confuse you. Don't let them confuse you.
Like what?
Don't
Give me an
allow them
example.
to do that.
Give me an example.
Decentralization is the best example that I can give you right now. Decentralization is to me, it's nothing more than just another buzzword similar to equality or equity. And they use that buzzword to set up technocratic central planners. If you go to the Dollar Vigilante YouTube channel, I had an interview with Fluffy Pony and I challenged him on this. He's one of the main Monero contributors. And I asked him, so what is this? Are you a central planner for the sake of decentralization? Because that's a contradiction. That's an oxymoron. And he laughed. He laughed because he thought it was funny. It's obviously funny, right? Because it's true. So the problem this is the thing. The problem, so as much as we can talk about the merits of something like Monero, we also have to be very vigilant. And I love the name Vigilante that Jeff Berwick and Ed Bugos gave to the Dollar Vigilante and the Crypto Vigilante, right? You have to be vigilant. As agorists, there are no leaders here, guys. The leader in the crypto revolution is looking right back at you in the mirror, okay? That's the person that you should be holding accountable in crypto. And we have a lot of status and anti-capitalist rhetoric going on in cryptocurrency. People that tell you to just hodl are lazy people that just want other people to do the work for them. I want you guys to build. I want you guys to help out because you guys are really the leaders. Everyone watching this should think really highly of themselves. Honestly, you should really think really highly of yourself, especially if you're a libertarian. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of knowledge. So yes, Monero is an amazing project. And what protects Monero is the false ethos. But at the same time, we always have to hold their feet to the fire. Always hold their feet to the fire.
With the Monero developers and the Monero network, what about it functions differently than Bitcoin? Like specifically from a technological or procedural standpoint, what is different?
There is not. So for example, in Bitcoin, you have a complete unbounded, well, not in Bitcoin BTC, and maybe a little bit in Bitcoin Cash. But the best manifestation of extreme capitalism is found by our objectivist Randian brethren of BSV. And they're libertarian. They're not anarchists. And you may not like the fact that they use government, but hey, they're extreme capitalists and they're libertarian. They're part of the libertarian family spectrum, right? Randian,
they would hate being called
we
libertarians.
May not agree with them.
Objectivists hate being called libertarians, but yeah.
Right. But you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. I debate them all the time.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But there's merit to what they're doing too, guys. It's not something that we could just brush off.
No, yeah.
Right?
Okay, so I think we can't. I want to go through the past 2 years of history about what's been going on with Monero for the past 2 years. But before we do, I really think that we have to at least address the objection, the problem with Monero that was a problem 2 years ago that I don't see much evidence has been solved, and I'm hoping you can correct me where I'm wrong, and that is adoption. The ability to use it as easily as the other alternatives. Jimbo Khan asked in the comments, or he said, none of this matters if you can't use it to buy anything. So in terms of adoption, in terms of integration into all the different platforms that accept money, is it there yet? I don't see it anywhere near there yet. What do you think? Like, sorry to ask you a question and then start talking immediately, but I think one micro example is that decentralized marketplace. The name escapes me right now, but it's an online marketplace, decentralized, and they accept crypto, and they do, the escrow for all the transactions that happen. I'm not talking about darknet markets. I'm talking about something that, functions on ClearNet. Open Bazaar. Thank you. They don't. Yeah. I will be interested in that platform the day they integrate Monero, and it's been years. So at this point, I can either continue blaming Open Bazaar for not implementing it, or I can say, what is it about Monero that is making it more difficult or less priority for all these people to integrate with it?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question alongside with the first question that you asked me, which was, what's different with Monero? Monero, in comparison to what I said about mining in Bitcoin, Monero. Okay, in BTC, Bitcoin BTC, the mining meritocracy of Bitcoin miners there is controlled. In Bitcoin Cash, the mining meritocracy of Bitcoin miners there is not controlled as much. In Bitcoin BSV, the objective miners are not controlled at all. They're completely autonomous to do what they please. They are they're extreme capitalists. Now, if you go to Monero, the miners the miner meritocracy in Monero, for Monero miners, is controlled, right? They're ASIC resistant, and their reasoning, they have reasons for I think that the reasons for it, when you talk about Monero, you have to use Monero logic. When you talk about Bitcoin logic. So now we're talking about Monero logic, right? When you talk about Monero logic and the end game of Monero being perfect money, and by perfect money in the terms of with all the attributes that come with being fungible and being private by default at a protocol level, it necessitates that the community of contributors be open to pivot at a moment's notice, trying to be attacked. And you get all these, literally the best cryptographers and hackers in the world are protecting the Monero network constantly, and they're constantly pivoting, and it's a cat and mouse game. What's happening in Monero, it's literally a cyber war right now, guys. Like, it's freaking beautiful happening right now. Like, if you're running a Monero client, if you're running a Monero wallet, make sure that every single day you wake up and that you make sure you're running the latest update. Always, guys, always. Monero is hated right now, and we're being attacked. The Monero community is being attacked, and it's been attacked forever. But behind the scenes, people don't realize what's happening. But it's being attacked, and so you need to take responsibility of that and update your clients as every day, because every day there's almost not every day, but constantly there's new updates in Monero, and you have to get the native version of the Monero clients. So make sure you do that. Why hasn't Monero been adopted? Well, Monero is, in my opinion, what BTC really wants to be. BTC wants to be digital gold and digital gold, and also the digital store of value, right? Monero does that better, and Monero has the capabilities of also being cash. Now, why hasn't it been adopted? A lot of it has to do with it in not being as a nimble of a protocol to deal with. But we have, for example, XMR.2. So, excuse me, a lot of people within the Monero community, what they do is that they just use the Bitcoin BTC infrastructure that already exists in the world. So what you do is that you use XMR.2 or the Monero wallet on Android, or the Cake wallet on Apple, and you send Monero using one of these wallets or this exchange, XMR.2, and the receiving end receives BTC. So you can use Monero wherever BTC is accepted. Now, is there a perfect answer to your question? I don't think so, because there's so many factors that we can talk about in regards to market adoption and market penetration. But in reality, the number one use case for Monero is value storage, right? It is digital gold. This coin is digital gold. Monero is digital gold. BTC Bitcoin, I can't say it's digital gold or BSV or Bitcoin Cash. because they're not fungible. They're not private by default. So I had an interview with the CEO and founder of SideShift.ai, Andreas Brecken, and he said something very interesting about Monero. He says people come to the exchange and they buy Monero, but nobody sells Monero.
Yeah, I got that. I moved, for worse currently, but I would say for better in the future. I hope I moved out of Bitcoin significantly into Monero a while ago, and maybe that's another thing that we can talk about. This connection is not really working out very well, so I'm going to drop a link in our Telegram chat to a Zoom meeting, and we can maybe hop over to Zoom to continue the call if that works for you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Zoom always works great for me. Yes.
Okay, cool. I am sending you that link now, and let's go ahead and close this browser tab and join the Zoom call, and we'll pick this up where we left off. I just want to make sure that we are giving the best experience to the viewers possible. So thanks for sticking with me, guys. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pop him away. Hopefully we'll see him in the Zoom call shortly. So I have been recording your questions, guys, and we will get to them here in a little bit. Thank you for taking the time to give us your questions. They are some good ones. Hopefully we're going to get a better connection with him shortly. I do use Jitsi on my on our Matrix server, so I am familiar with Jitsi. For stuff like this, everybody already has Zoom, so sometimes it's just convenient, right? It's more convenient to be able to provide a show to you with a good connection than otherwise. What usually happens is people with sort of poor Wi-Fi have trouble with the sort of high quality one. So yeah, the connection is a little bit problematic. So hopefully we'll see him shortly. Oh, I think you rejoined on the vMix connection, sir. Are you in the Zoom call?
Oh, I did?
I don't see you in the Zoom call.
One second. All right,
Oh, you're good. There he is. Here we go. All right. Now let me make sure that he's going to get video here. Give me 1 second, sir. Need to make sure he gets audio as well. Sorry, guys. Want to make sure that he gets this right here. And then we're going to get audio functioning. All right, sir, can you hear me? Mic check, 1, 2. Check, check. Join audio. Here we go. Mic check, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Yes, yes.
Awesome. All right, you're back with us. Perfect. Okay, so sorry for the interruption, folks. This connection already looks much more solid than we had previously, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Yes, perfect.
Beautiful. Okay, so adoption. Let me try and reflect back to you what you just said, and you can tell me if I misunderstand. So it seems like the reason why we don't have the as widely integrated Monero usage or capability as the other currencies is because the nature of the tech being, having a higher bar for privacy requires more work on the integrator's side to do that. That's why we don't see it.
No, not necessarily. I think it's just no. I just think it's I don't think that's what it is. Honestly, I honestly can't point a finger to exactly why it hasn't been adopted more. I think what people are really doing is hoarding Monero. So
okay, I know I am.
I think that's what people are doing. I don't think people. This is the thing: is that good money changes you from within, in my opinion. And if you have bad money, it changes the way you operate in the world. So if we had no Bitcoin option or no cryptocurrency in the world, you wouldn't think about saving in fiat at all. And you'd probably be in some forest somewhere, like off the grid. We would be like anarcho primitive by now, I think, trading in silver coins, because now we have Bitcoin and Bitcoin's great, but now, hello, it's a transparent coin. So that changes the way you do things as well, right? Once you know that Bitcoin is completely transparent and all of its sibling chains are completely transparent and the vast majority of cryptocurrency is transparent, then yeah, that changes everything. So look, man, I don't think you guys are wrong in your assessment. I think that the better perspective to your assessment of it not having more market adoption is the fact that you guys are just very early. That's the way I see it. You guys are very early to Monero. People think that we're late, that they're late to crypto. No, you guys are very early. And if you're a Monero adopter, you're extremely early. Guys, right now we're about to have Monero to BTC atomic swaps. Do you understand the amount of liquidity that's going to come in through Monero? Because what happens with the privacy coin, Patrick, is that you, with the privacy coin, with atomic swaps, you now have the ability of giving a little fungibility back to the users of BTC, right? Because you don't have to use even a decentralized exchange. It's from blockchain to blockchain. The atomic swap happens from blockchain to blockchain. So you can have BTC, and now, boom, you can just convert that to Monero in an instant through an atomic swap. That was fully funded within 3 days, that initiative. So they're working on it right now. All these masterminds are working on creating atomic swaps for us right now. And that's so amazing.
Well,
I'm so excited.
That would be legit huge, except you're probably going to have to pay a BTC transaction fee. Like, I was just reminded of what a meme Bitcoin has become. And please disagree with me if you want. But like, I found a wallet that I had stashed away that had $100 in it. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll just, move this over to my other stuff to consolidate. $15 transaction fee. And then I found another wallet over here that, I don't know, it had like $15 in it. $5 transaction fee. It's like, I don't want to move my Bitcoin because I lose a large percentage of my Bitcoin, which just makes the technology like a joke. Like, now, not only is it not private, but now PayPal is like way better. And like, if it's not going to be private and the government's going to have full visibility into what I'm doing with my money, then I don't want to pay $5 and $15 transaction fees. That's kind of silly. So I really hope whatever they do for the atomic swap thing, maybe mitigates that somehow. I don't know. It's just, now I'm bitching about Bitcoin and we're here to talk about Monero.
That's fine.
So
That's fine, because you're smart and you're supposed to, when you see something wrong, look, I'm going to throw out a disclaimer before I say anything, which is the following. Not everyone at the Crypto Vigilante agrees with me in regards to Bitcoin in general. I'm a big blocker. Jeff Berwick is also of the big blocker mindset as well. He's more pro Bitcoin Cash. I've always been a little bit more pro Bitcoin SV, BSV. But on purpose, we brought in guys to the team that were more pro BTC, so we have a very level discussion and we all watch one another's back. So it's a good dynamic that we have. Now, yes, you're right. It's ridiculous. And as much as it would make sense to someone like you that understands sound money, how ridiculous it is to have such crazy transaction fees and wait on the BTC blockchain. The truth is, and this is something that I was talking back to this team of ours, right? And it just cracked me up. Because the reality is, and this is what they allowed me to realize, is that the stupid status world of Wall Street does not care about that $15 transaction fee or $500 transaction fee, as has been a couple of days ago. So now institutional dumb money from Wall Street is coming in, status Keynesian money coming in. Do you think they're going to care to pay $500 transaction fee if they're going to be investing millions of dollars? Of course not, right? They're the perfect accomplices to the Raspberry revolution that, in my opinion, and what I know and what I saw, took over what is now BTC, right? The Raspberry revolution, right? Like, that's what I call it. It's funny, but yeah, like if so, they're the perfect accomplices to the Raspberry revolution. Right? They're the perfect ones. Now you have guys like Mike Saylor, right? Saying, hey, he's trying to persuade the Bitcoin network from not having any privacy initiatives. So Bitcoin BTC is really becoming status coin. Like, that's pretty messed up, dude. And the worst part is that, well, as a big blocker, I know a lot of small blockers here will disagree with me. And I can give you their arguments if you want while we're at it. But a lot of small blockers will tell you that privacy can be achieved with it in the second layer of the Lightning Network. And I'm like, nope. Yes, maybe, but you're not talking about Bitcoin anymore. Because to me, I'm all miner maximalist, guys, like I told you guys earlier. A Bitcoin transaction is a transaction that is processed by the Bitcoin miners. If you take that to a second layer, it's no longer, in my opinion, a Bitcoin transaction. They'll tell you this, oh, but when you open and close a Lightning Network channel, you use the miners, you use the BTC blockchain. I'm like, sure, all you really did is just put that money aside, and now when you're working within hubs of the Lightning Network itself, you're using simulation Bitcoin to what it's really happening over there. What makes Bitcoin Bitcoin is the Bitcoin blockchain. And what makes the Bitcoin blockchain is this communion of computers that we call miners. So if your transaction does not extend the Bitcoin ledger, if your transaction is not processed by Bitcoin miners, then properly speaking, your transaction is not a Bitcoin transaction. And so from a big blocker anarchist perspective, and this is what Jeff called out, and this is what I called out, we saw this as a takeover of Bitcoin by Bilderberg. Really, if you really do research on this stuff, you'll see that this came from up there, right? And what these guys did was that now, to use Bitcoin for the masses and for mass adoption, you have to go through a second layer. And so what happened is now we have Fiat 2.0, right? Fiat 2.0. And what's the best example of that in present day is PayPal. PayPal supposedly allows you to buy Bitcoin and allows you to buy other cryptocurrencies. But what does that mean? What that means is that you can't really own your Bitcoin. You can only use Bitcoin within the PayPal network. So PayPal became like a giant Lightning Network hub per se, where you can't move your money out to a wallet that you yourself control, where you yourself control the private keys. So yeah, it's very important to let everyone know that the PayPal adoption may be a good thing, but don't ever buy Bitcoin or crypto via PayPal.
I want to make sure that 2.0. Yeah, look, I've been a software developer at a high level, at the C levels of companies for 25 years. I started coding 25 years ago is what I'm trying to say. I know a hacky patch job that just band-aids a piece of software when I see it, and that is what Lightning Network has appeared to be to me since the beginning. It's like, oh, rather than like acknowledge and fix a problem with your technology or upgrade it or iterate it, you're going to leave the technology 1.0 and then like I don't know, release an expansion pack that tries to make it okay that you're not iterating on your technology. And let's go back to talking about Monero. I've seen the Monero, and let's talk about the past 2 years. I've seen the Monero team consistently, rapidly iterate. And now I'm sounding like I'm shilling, but I really think it is an advantage of the team and the structure that they have going, where they iterate on their technology. They're not afraid to make changes when they need to and as they need to keep it relevant, to keep it secure. Please, if you think I'm wrong, correct me here.
No, I think you're completely right. Now, I think it's important to talk about Bitcoin in reference to Monero because look at it this way, guys. We had the civil war within Bitcoin, right? And when the civil war started, which was like around 2013, a lot of people were like, well, what BTC wants to make Bitcoin out to be, which is digital gold, cannot be possible within this infrastructure. So we're going to start from scratch. And then we have CryptoNote, right? The founding white paper of what now is Monero. So a lot of these OG Bitcoiners knew that they had to create something from scratch, from the ground up, in order for it to be private and really fungible, and for it to truly be digital gold at a protocol level, right? And okay. You're 100% right. Yeah, it's Monero is in my opinion everything BTC ever wanted to be, ever wants to be.
And so, just kind of rewind your memory and let's kind of go through some of the important news stories and things that have happened to Monero over the past couple of years. The main one of note, because I've not been terribly plugged into it the past couple of years, and so I'm looking forward to hearing what I missed. But the only thing I did hear about was, I think the IRS put out a bounty of some kind. It's like $600,000 to the person that can basically help them spy on Monero users, which to me was the greatest news story I had seen in 2020, I think, just because it's like a tacit admission that the technology is secure, which I loved hearing. Can you tell us maybe more about that particular story?
Yeah, they pretty much did nothing more than copy paste all of the research that the Monero research lab had already done, which is hilarious because nothing like there was no surprise. There was no surprise whenever the government was so dumb that even when they said that they were able to trace a certain wallet, they were really trying to trace something that was not a wallet. Like it was a wallet that they thought a wallet in Monero started with the number 5. No, that actually represents like a view key or something else. So it's like it just goes to show that how unpredictable the free market is, right?
So somebody responded to try and claim the 600 and failed? Is that what you're saying? I didn't know about that. What's happened since? Maybe anything?
Well, what we do know is that I think CipherTrace, who was the blockchain analytics company that was trying to track Monero, I think they lost their government contract after all of this because they got completely called out by the Monero community as being completely incompetent. And so, yeah, it was hilarious. So I'll just give you an example of the incompetency that these guys are dealing with, right? And so what's happening now is that they know they can't like. It's almost like on the back end, we're noticing that the whoever it is, I'm sure it's probably some nefarious entity. They're growing desperate, and so they are half-assed trying to hurt the network through civil attacks. But they're not able to because constantly like everyone's on it. And I mean, if you understand the Monero community, if you had experience with it, if you have any questions, just go on Reddit and you'll get an answer within like 15 minutes. That's how like on top of it these guys are, right? Like the Monero community is just a bunch of volunteers throughout the world that just love this. That want their freedom and they're fighting for it. So, and the most important thing is that you have to account for the fact that we have no central planner, no authority. What we have is the free and open source software ethos, and where everyone's constantly bettering everything. It's a market-driven meritocracy that doesn't stop. So every time they try to do something in Monero or against Monero, it's like right now, if you go to the latest Monero talk, you'll see a couple of Monero researchers talking about the future quantum threats to Monero and how they're preparing for that. It's a great conversation. It just came out a couple hours ago, actually. Yeah, it's great. So if you guys are watching this, go ahead and look at Monero Talk. They talk about this. It's
after what the show's over.
They rented a quantum computer, and they started seeing what this quantum computer is capable of. And yeah, well, there's also quantum cryptography, right? Quantum cryptography. So yeah, the Monero community is very resilient. I mean, we are in a cyber war, guys, in more ways than one in cryptocurrency. And while we're fighting on one end with extreme capitalism like Bitcoin miners are, we're also fighting on the FOSS ethos aspect of things with extreme privacy, extreme fungibility, extreme individual sovereignty, right? So these are the main two horns of the bullhorn envelopment in which we are coming at giving freedom back to the world, right? And I'm just extremely surprised every day and very hopeful to see what other strategies the free market comes up with to give people freedom.
So I have a couple more questions, and then we'll get to the viewer questions. Number one, I'm familiar with how the Bitcoin software development process goes. You know, if you contribute a piece of code, who reviews it, who approves it, what the chain of authority is on approving changes and things like that with Bitcoin, BTC proper. What is that process, or are you familiar with that process for Monero? Like if I, downloaded the source code, made some changes, who would I make a pull request to, and what process would that go through to being included into Monero?
It's very similar to the BTC process. Actually, What BTC was really good at, in my opinion, was being the sandbox upon which this process was developed. And the Monero community at large, for the most part, when it comes to Bitcoin, they are more small blocker in their perception. And they are more pro BTC than they are pro Bitcoin Cash or BSV. There's a lot of the Bitcoin community of contributors in general. Like the crazy thing is that when we go to a community, when like Monero, the Monero community comes together, you find people from all other cryptocurrencies. Privacy is kind of like everyone's home, and it's very beautiful because we put our differences aside, and maybe we had civil wars within Bitcoin, but when we come to Monero, we all just kind of like, oh wow, that's, hello. Like, yes, we're brothers at a deeper level. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really interesting what happens in cryptocurrency, that everyone loves Monero, that maybe people are working on their own pet projects like, Bitcoin or Ethereum, but if they're really like libertarian and anarcho-capitalist, at the end of the day, their boys are going to meet up in Monero. It's kind of like the Batman layer, right? For crypto anarchy right now. So yeah, it's very similar to the way BTC functions and the false ethos within BTC. Now, remember that one of the biggest reasons we had the civil war within Bitcoin was because people in BTC, people that now form BTC, gave more priority to the free and open source software ethos as the meritocracy to grow Bitcoin than more minor maximalists like myself that saw a miner-driven meritocracy as the means of scaling Bitcoin, right? So when Monero came out, about the BTC mindset of emphasizing the false ethos was something that the Monero community literally just copied and pasted. So it's very similar to the BTC process.
Okay. Now, who are the people in charge then of approving the mainline code changes?
To be honest, I don't think there's anyone that's like really in charge in Monero. But Surhack has really been someone that we always look up to, and then a bunch of anonymous guys. Okay. Surhack and Fluffy Pony. But the funny thing about this is that both of these guys kind of like took a break on the bench, because they didn't want, like, okay, so it's kind of like the reason why Satoshi never went public, right? Like, this is something that belongs to the community, to the network. And Fluffy Pony started getting a lot of, he became the face of Monero for a while, and he pretty much is till this day. And then since Fluffy Pony started working on Tari, which is going to be an incredible project, that's going to be merge mine with Monero. Surhack started. He got in. He became more of the main contributor and cryptographer that had a face to it, right? But then Surhack recently, he's been doing volunteer work for Monero for like over 3 years, and the community kind of say, you know what, man, take a break, and we're gonna fund your vacation. So this guy just got paid to go on vacation as like a gift to him, like, we got this. But Surhack is and so is Fluffy, that they're so active that they're still even hanging around, even though they're not like the main dudes that they once were, right? But yeah, they just, is there an actual place to be a contributor? The best place is just to start dialoguing within the different channels of the Monero community and get yourself known, and start showing off your commits that you have on any repositories, and just start a dialogue, because this is a volunteer community driven project. And if you really want to get to the heart of it, hit up the Monero Research Lab. Those are like the main dudes, kind of like the forward-facing face of Monero research. The Monero Research Lab, guys, that's really where you want to go. And if you have any questions about what the government has been trying to do with Monero, and supposedly, that they've been putting bounties out for the IRS, which was your question. Go to there's a whole series on YouTube called Breaking Monero, kind of like Breaking Bad, and that whole entire series deals with everything that the government and blockchain analytic companies are trying to do regarding Monero. So if you go to the Breaking Monero series, pretty much everything that they've tried to say that they've done to Monero, or that they've tried to like do to Monero, that has already been addressed long time ago on the Breaking Monero series. Like, so watch the Breaking Monero series. It's highly educational. It's highly valuable, and it's funny because in reality, all of these reports that kind of created FUD around Monero in the past months were just nothing more than copy paste of the Breaking Monero series, which was actually really funny. And they got called out for it. Like CipherTrace, which was the blockchain analytics company that kind of was like trying to say, oh, we're able to track Monero or whatever, or which was a complete lie. They were caught really copy pasting the Breaking Monero series, which was hilarious.
So in terms of new features, what new features besides like the atomic swaps you're talking about, has there been anything else new to the Monero product in the past 2 years that you can think of that might be important?
Well, definitely RandomX was a big deal. It had 4 audits. The Monero community was extremely...
Can you describe that for people that have no idea what that is?
It made Monero more ASIC resistant for its miners, and it made it more profitable to mine Monero. So
by making it harder to mine it with ASICs?
Exactly. And more, there are other types of miners that can be developed but they're not ASICs. And a lot of people are starting to use those to have an advantage over the rest of the market. But now it became more egalitarian. But see, I'm a miner maximalist. I wasn't really in favor of those measures, but but if you look at Monero from the perspective of Monero logic, again, Monero logic of it being a place where no one can come in and like completely change things or change things or omit transactions, right? Of any sort, or just do anything crazy that would go against the Monero ethos of extreme privacy, then yes, you need to have some direction in what is used for mining and what is allowed as code, right? So it's so Monero, for what it is and what it wants to achieve, is acting in the best of ways, right? So make sure, guys, that like when you talk about a cryptocurrency, when you think about a cryptocurrency, you look at that cryptocurrency with the perspective of what the end goal of that given cryptocurrency is, right? Because it's really easy to make this mistake of bringing in the logic that is used within one cryptocurrency project and bringing it and trying to graft it onto another cryptocurrency project. So for the goal of Monero is doing everything awesome. For what Bitcoin wants to be, they're doing everything awesome, right? The miners are doing what they're doing is awesome. So I understand the motivation for limiting the autonomy of mining in Monero, and I agree with it. When I put on my Monero hat, I agree with it.
Is there any other notable new features that we should be aware of? And the answer no is fine. Like, if the only thing this ever does is just be really good at being private money, then we have a win. I'm just curious if there's any other, interesting news or developments.
I mean, there's a lot of things that have been developed and added to it. So the thing is that Monero kind of like has an update like constantly, because again, think about it this way. This is the number one threat to the establishment, Patrick. It really is. This is everything Bitcoin wanted to be. So right now, as we speak, and it's always been like that. They want to attack Monero, of course. Yeah. So in the back end, all of these amazing, beautiful angels are protecting the network and are bettering Monero. So you make sure you always run the most recent update of the software for Monero. So make sure you always do that. Always do that. As long as you do that, you'll be safe.
The fact that this technology is enemy number one of the state should, in my mind, make it the number one most desired, demanded cryptocurrency, which then raises the obvious question. And right after we talk about this, guys, we will get to your questions. So if you have any, go ahead and get them in. I'm compiling a list of all the ones that you've sent. What's up with the price? Like it hasn't really moved since it came down from what, 350 back when the last time Bitcoin tanked. I mean, it's back up. It was down to like 80 and now it's at 150 ish right now, right? I didn't check before the show. I should have.
We're just early. That's the way I see it. Because look, when you invest in something that has intrinsic value, like I really don't care. Like in my opinion, the price is kind of like a second thought when it comes to investing on something that is fundamentally sound, that is economically sound. So we're just early, guys. That's it. We're just early. I mean, think about in the future when like all these Wall Street guys are going to come in, all these institutional investors, all of these companies are coming in, and let's say Tesla, right? Today Tesla was like, maybe Elon Musk was like, maybe I should buy Bitcoin, right? When Elon Musk tries to purchase something from one of his associates, and if he tries to do that with Bitcoin, all of his competitors are going to know how much he's paying for that product or something, and they are probably going to see. It opens yourself up to financial voyeurism. So any smart businessman would know that. Why the hell would you be opening yourself up to complete financial voyeurism, financial surveillance, not just from the state, but I'm talking about from everyone, even your business competitors? That is ridiculous. Whereas the beautiful thing about Monero is that it has a view key where it's optional to disclose. So it has optional disclosure, and that's extremely elegant and beautiful. So yes, the number one app for Monero is privacy. It's fungibility. It's perfect money. What else do we need, guys? I don't see anything else I do see others in crypto that we can talk about if you want. But that is the killer app. If you don't have money, the killer app in crypto is awesome money. That is the killer app. When people talk about all these etherical things like Ethereum, no pun intended, etherical, like the DAO, right? The decentralized autonomous organization. Dude, the most important decentralized autonomous entity is money, and money needs to be fungible. And Monero is the most perfect form of money. So in a sense, Monero is the most perfect form of the DAO. But it takes time. We're just really early. That's all it is, Patrick. We're just really early. That's all it is.
Well, I hope you're right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so let's get into questions, guys. Thanks for submitting your questions. Some of these are really good. I'm going to butcher all of your names. So, starting with this one, Shanawaz Jelani. I apologize.
I think I know who that is.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think I know who that is. I think I know that character.
How am I supposed to say that name?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. Question: does BTC probably have a rocky future? What do you think?
Big blocker. I have fundamental arguments that would answer yes, but as a brutalist, I would say not really, because now the people that are coming in are really dumb. Like Wall Street's dumb. They're just people that are just, all they know about is how to. They walk around with knee pads, kneeling to authority all the time. You don't see it underneath their suits. I don't know if you guys know that, but these guys they don't care. They don't care to pay $1,000 worth of fees. So yeah, BTC probably will keep going up, and they're not going to mind paying $5,000 worth of transaction fees if they're able to invest, $20 million at a time. So it's not going to matter to them.
Agreed. I think it will probably never die. All right. The for better or for worse. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I think it's version 1 technology, and we have elevated money to that of a technology, and to think or to expect or to want to continue using what I would call edgy, maybe as an edgelord, version 1 of the cryptocurrency technology. Like, it was developed, I think, at the same time as like Windows Vista or something like that. Like, imagine like advocating for continuing to stay on Vista, and imagine being a dev team that doesn't want to change much about Vista because, you know, Vista is the perfect operating system. Anyway, I'm just being edgy now, but yeah, to me, it's legacy tech, and anyway, I'm just being edgy now. So most of you probably disagree with me. Next question from the Ghost. The Monero tail emission adds constant inflation. Any chance that gets written out of the code and a hard cap put in place instead? Or please explain why this might be a good thing. Thanks.
So within Bitcoin, so let's talk about it from a macro perspective, which really is what matters in cryptocurrency, right?
Maybe start by summarizing kind of the subject.
Sure.
Like, what is he asking about?
Sure. Okay, what is he asking about is that the Monero community, since it's a community that takes on after the mindset of what Bitcoin BTC would be in its perfect form. You have to understand that Bitcoin BTC, as it is in its perfect form, has miners, obviously, and these miners monetize based on what? The block reward mainly. So before the halving that we just had, their financial house that I keep forgetting their name, said that if Bitcoin BTC did not have a price in the market of over $12,000, it would not be profitable for miners to mine BTC. And to me, that's kind of scary because, well, you know, this is a crazy market. It can drop below $12,000, and if it stays there for a long enough time, those BTC miners are not going to be profitable businesses, and they need to be profitable businesses in order for them to be sustainable. Now, let's go back to the question that I needed to say that as a preamble. That mindset that the price that the monetization of mining comes first and foremost from the block reward, which some of us call the subsidy, that carried on into the development, into the creation of Monero. So in Bitcoin, there is a hard stop at 21 million, right? There will only be 21 million Bitcoin. And Monero, there is not a hard stop. There is a tail-end emission of very, very, very little Monero that's going to be coming out for the rest of history in Monero. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be inflation. More likely, there's going to be a lot of Monero lost by people forgetting their private keys, you know, blah, blah, blah. But the real reality for that to exist is for the Monero miners to always have that nourishment, that financial nourishment. Whereas in BTC and in Bitcoin, in general, in all the three chains, that nourishment is going to end one day, right? It's going to end one day, and miners are going to have to only monetize based on transaction fees. And the fee structure within every one of the competitive Bitcoin chains is different for miners, and we're all waiting to see which one's going to be the best for miners, right? But when we take this back to Monero, that tail-end emission on a macro scale is what we refer to as asymptomatically zero. So in reality, it really is, inflation is zero, not in complete reality like we would see in BTC. It's zero. The inflation is zero in BTC. But with Monero, the inflation is asymptomatically zero, meaning that you won't really feel it or see it on a macro scale. But it is there in order for it to always nourish the Monero miners. So the answer to that is yes, it is not a hard cap zero like in BTC, but it is from a macroeconomic perspective, asymptomatically zero.
And Zodiac says, I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. I think you're talking about me, and probably with my Bitcoin comments, which is entirely possible because I haven't been following this stuff terribly closely the past couple of years. But please, if you think I'm wrong, don't just say you think I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm wrong about. I would love to learn. All right, next question. Oh, did we answer the previous question? Do you think that they're going to get rid of that? And
no, I don't think so, because it's designed with the purpose of nourishing the Monero miners, and on a macro level, it still affects the crypto economics asymptomatically zero, meaning there is no real effect to the inflation of Monero on a macro level.
Okay.
There is no real like inflation. It's just how it manifests on a macroeconomic scale. It's not going to be like the Federal Reserve printing dollars at all. It's not going to be like that.
Okay. Next we have, it looks like another Shanawaz Jelani. Question.
There he goes again.
Is BCH more fundamentally sound than Monero? Fundamentally. Like, I would start by asking, what do you mean by fundamentally? Do you mean like the fundamentals of the economics or the technology?
I don't think that question has an answer, because what Bitcoin Cash is doing is phenomenal, right? Bitcoin Cash is trying to do everything that I talked about. Remember the bullhorn envelopment and the extreme capitalism on one end and extreme privacy and sovereignty on the other hand. Like, Bitcoin Cash is that version of Bitcoin that is trying to do both at the same time. And they're all anarcho-capitalist libertarians. So what Bitcoin Cash is doing is freaking amazing. And what they just did, like literally saying no to the proposal of a dev tax, and they literally kicked out the lead development implementation of Bitcoin Cash, which was Bitcoin ABC, and their lead developers. That says so much about the resilience of the Bitcoin Cash community. It's phenomenal. So we can expect Bitcoin Cash to add more privacy features. Of course, it's never going to be as private as Monero unless they radically do some changes, which would be very hard. But it's definitely. So when you think about Bitcoin Cash, you have to understand Bitcoin Cash from its history. Understand that it's not an altcoin. Or BSV is also not an altcoin, properly speaking, because they also originate from the same Genesis block that BTC originated from, okay? And they all are protected by that force field of energy that protects BTC as well, which are the Bitcoin miners, right? So Bitcoin Cash, and again, these Bitcoin miners are agnostic as to what they mine. So some of them, sometimes they mine BTC, sometimes they mine BSV, sometimes they mine Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash has a huge role to play. And Monero is just a completely different animal. Monero is the group of early Bitcoiners that said, you know what, guys, what we want to achieve is privacy by default and complete fungibility at a protocol level. So what we're going to do is start from scratch and do things right. And so they're just different. And so you can't bring Monero logic to Bitcoin Cash, and you can't bring Bitcoin Cash logic into Monero. They're different. You have to see them as they are.
Okay, so we have about probably 10 more minutes. So let's say last call for questions in the chat, and then we'll cut those off. Next up, we have Addo Hillaway. My goodness. What's the service? Oh, so he's asking about the service that you mentioned for atomic swaps. What's the service called for BDC to XMR swaps? Do you know the name of that so people can find more information?
It's being created right now as we speak. So the funding for it was completed. In 3 days, we raised all of the money, actually more than we needed in Monero. And right now they're building it. So if you want to know, as soon as it happens, become a crypto vigilante, dollar vigilante subscriber. But I'm pretty sure if you just go to the Monero forums, as soon as it's ready and available, they're going to let you guys know like right away. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of having a little back and forth with Zodiac here. So he's going to tell me why I'm wrong now, which I appreciate and asked for. He said that I said BTC is like phase one tech, but it's different in this case. It's already carved out its niche, so to say, and has already solved digital money, so it is unlikely to get dethroned by new tech. I don't really disagree with that statement at all. I think, I disagree that it has solved digital money because I got wallets and I can't really move my money without giving up 15% of it. Like, I don't know if that's really solved digital money when PayPal's kicking its ass. But aside from that quibble, I do think that it's going to be a while before it gets dethroned. Okay.
Yeah, especially nowadays where like the people that are coming in care nothing about sound money. I mean, these guys are just the most corrupt of individuals in the world, you know? Like they're coming in because they're desperate, because their fiat system they destroyed it with, hyperinflation. And so now they're coming into crypto and they want that digital gold, right? They think it's Bitcoin, but they're going to realize that Shum, right? SHUM, Shum, should have used Monero. They're gonna realize the hard way. It is what it is.
Okay, Andrew, I'm a Tio. I'm at okay, whatever. Do you like big blocks and you cannot lie?
I do like big blocks and I cannot lie.
Shanawaz Jelani, is there a mobile wallet for R? I think that was back when we were talking about the
There's
pirates.
a go. Oh yeah, you guys want to talk about that? That's fun. Oh man, I'm a pirate for sure.
Yeah.
R baby, R. Dude, I love R. R is great. R is like when we talk about privacy coins, R is like the next step after Monero. Like it's like R is beautiful. We love R at the Crypto Vigilante. Is there a mobile wallet? Yes, there is, but you have to make sure you download go to pirate.black and they're all there. But if you really, really want to be safe and really, really want to have your R, download Pirate Ocean. Pirate Ocean is the wallet that we recommend. I've had good experiences with 7Cs, but
I thought we were joking about pirates. What are you talking about? Apparently there's a thing.
Do you not know what I'm talking about?
Nope, I have not been paying attention to crypto.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I do not.
We're talking about
me.
Pirate Chain. So Pirate Chain is everything Zcash ever wanted to be. It uses more advanced cryptography than Monero. Pirate Chain, it uses zero knowledge proofs, which are ZK in the form of ZK snarks, and has it by default at the protocol level. Pirate Chain is also 51% attack proof. It's a fork, so you have to not only 51% attack the Pirate Chain blockchain, but also the Monero blockchain and the BTC blockchain in order to attack Pirate Chain. Yeah, Pirate Chain is we love Pirate Chain. Pirate Chain is like that and Monero are okay. So here, let me give you just a quick rundown. Monero, what it does, this is Monero technology in a nutshell, guys. Ring signatures protects the sender, and in Monero there's 11 ring signatures that are sent, protecting the sender, and one is the real transaction, and there's 10 decoys, right? Then the receiver has what is called in Monero the stealth address, right? And it's just a stealth address that protects the guy that receives the money. And then the money that is sent is hidden by a technology called the Ring CT, right? So that's the Monero technology in a nutshell, right? That's Monero technology in a nutshell. So really what they've tried to mess with in Monero, the cipher trace and everything that you asked me about, the closest that they've been able to do is to get to a probabilistic assessment of what possible out of those 11, which one could have probabilistically have been the transaction sent by the correct sender. But if you in Monero in the future, we're going to be increasing that ring signature size, so that privacy is going to it's going to expand exponentially, parabolically. But the coolest thing about it, okay, so Monero is like a shuffling, right? The guy that sends, kind of like you just send your message and you shuffle it amongst 11 messages. So, and then if you do that often from wallet to wallet, that just becomes exponential, right? And on top of that, you have the technology that hides the amount and hides the receiver, right? That I just described. With zero knowledge proofs, the transaction that is sent is like it's probably one of the most zero knowledge proofs is one of the most advanced forms of cryptography. And when that transaction is sent into a void where you can't it's just gone, dude. So like Pirate Chain is objectively speaking more private than Monero. Objectively speaking, it is. And I did an interview with some pirates not too long ago on the Crypto Vigilante channel. If you guys want to watch it, go ahead and watch it. But yeah, Pirate Chain is it's everything Zcash wanted to be. Zcash is it's never been a privacy coin. Has optional privacy, and if you're not private by default, you're not really a privacy coin. So yeah, a Pirate Chain is a baby project still. Is still less than $1. I can't believe. See, this is the thing, Patrick. We're very early, so Don't ask of like, hey, why hasn't it been adopted more? No, dude, the thing is that you're just very early. And everyone watching this is just very early when it comes to privacy coins. And privacy coins, again, I mentioned in the past, they are the heart of cryptocurrency. Whenever you go to a privacy coin conference, you find all of the big heavy hitters there from all different coins, all different projects. And they're all there because they know this is the heart of crypto. They know this is where the real deal crypto anarchy is at. So yeah. So now you guys know about Pirate Chain. Yeah.
I'm gonna go research on that. Maybe we'll have another show on that sometime in the future.
Dude, it took us at the Crypto Vigilante, it took us over a year to research Pirate Chain because I went to the MoneroCon conference in Denver, Colorado, and I'm just hanging out there, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of like Monero developers and contributors. But some guys were wearing masks like dinosaurs and stuff. These guys are hilarious. Anyways, they start surrounding this new, like this person, this mysterious person who's talking about Pirate Chain. And I sat down, smoked a joint with this pirate, and wow. So then it took us a year of research into Pirate Chain to actually recommend, to say, hey, this is a good coin, like awesome coin, awesome technology. And we ended up writing a 72-page report on this that ended up becoming like a treatise on privacy coins with like a historical like backdrop of like what the heck is going on. It was so intense what we wrote, and I have to give credit mostly to Mr. X, because I did kind of like the normal amount of like due diligence that I do for like research. But Mr. X, he's like a cryptography, network engineering like guru, and he just took this and he went on a mission to try to like show me that like Monero is still better because he's like a Monero maximalist at heart. Mr. X is a Monero maximalist at heart. So he went on a mission to try to show that, Monero is still #1 privacy coin, blah, blah, blah. He ended up doing this mammoth project that one of our subscribers grabbed a hold of and he read it on YouTube and did a commentary on that is 3 hours and 49 minutes. Like, this is wild, man. So yeah, Pirate Chain, see, once in a while in crypto, you get innovation that will just knock your socks off. You're like, what's going on, Like a real innovation. And when you talk about real innovation, yeah, Pirate Chain is real innovation, guys. Check that project out. It's a badass project.
All right, Jamer Funk says, question, do you need 50 spare gig of free on your hard drive to run Monero? I don't think so, right? I don't think so at all, especially if you use the just the client connection, right, to a node.
Yeah,
What's the blockchain it size up to right now?
I can't think. I can't remember. But try not to run a remote node. We've been having kind of like don't try not to run a remote node if you can. If you have to, do it. But try to run your own node for Monero. And if a lot of your questions, go to the Monero Research Lab, Monero.how, getmonero.org, or just become a Crypto Vigilante subscriber. but yeah, I don't know the exact size of the Monero blockchain at this moment, unfortunately. Sorry, I can't give you that. Last time I checked, I think it was like 70. I saw it last night. Last night it was I think it was 70 gigabytes, if I'm not wrong.
What's Bitcoin up to?
At this moment, I don't remember.
Okay. Opie effing Taylor said, this wasn't a question, this was a comment that I liked. XMR will explode when people realize how traceable FedCoin will be. Agreed. That Moose, question, are there groups you've heard of that are trying to create projects using Monero, like creating a farmer's market that uses cryptos?
I mean, if you go on in the Darknet markets, Darknet markets they've wisen up, and the vast majority of them are using Monero.
Yeah, that would be the best example.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to buy, which if we all go into communism, which it seems like we're all going to be living under communism worldwide pretty soon, Well, you guys know that like when everyone started buying toilet paper, they weren't acting irrational, right? Like when humanity went at the beginning of 2020, when people started buying toilet paper, they were not acting irrational at all, guys. Toilet paper becomes a very high commodity under communism. Know that everyone that lives under communism, like in Venezuela, wipes their ass with their hands. You do not want that in your life. So it's so bad that like in Venezuela, if you guys look up these memes, it's hilarious, dude. Like they when a bureaucrat is awarded in Venezuela for anything, they not only give them a badge, but they give them like four rolls of toilet paper. This is real. This is real. So when people in the United States started freaking out, started buying,
Is that's a joke, right?
Dude, do it right now. Like go online, show your audience, go toilet paper given to bureaucrats on as a prize or meme or whatever the keywords would be to pull that up. Actually, I may even have that here, man. Give me a second. I might even have to do this for you.
Toilet paper given to what?
Bureaucrats in Venezuela, or awarded to bureaucrats in Venezuela. Because I know, I have this meme somewhere. I have these pictures somewhere. I just can't find it right now. I don't see
Soldiers
it right now.
get toilet paper awards brought to you by communism.
There you go. You see it exactly right there, guys. The guys that are gonna want to take away your guns in the future, they are going to be awarded when they take away your AR-15. They are going to be awarded with the ability to wipe their ass with toilet paper. Okay, this is what these bureaucrats and statists are gonna. This is what they live for. This is their financial incentive, guys. Okay, this is what they want. All right, they want toilet paper. They're just too dumb to realize that the free market. You know, we have toilet paper galore, but these dumbasses want toilet paper, guys. So yeah, there she is. Bravo.
I'm dying.
That's AOC, guys. That's AOC right there.
Look at their dead eyes.
Ocasio-Cortez. Is Alexandria.
Oh God.
What you're gonna give everyone in the U.S.
Oh,
Congratulations, you freaking bureaucrat. But since everyone watching this, I want you guys to, have good hygiene when you, in the future, when you go on a DNM, a Darknet market site, and you buy your toilet paper in the free market that they call the black market, you're going to be able to purchase it with Monero or Pirate Chain. So it would be a good idea to stock up on toilet paper, stock up on, bullets, obviously, and stock up on your Pirate Chain and R is the ticker symbol for it, ARRR, and your Monero, because capitalism comes with good hygiene. Who would have thought?
Okay, all right. We have 3 questions left, and we're going to call it. Glow Bikers asks, "Can you put NFT on Monero so to have private digital assets like art, etc., without being public everywhere?" What is NFT for the people that don't know?
Non-fungible tokens, and the answer to that is yes. Guys, what Tari's about. Get ready. Go to Tari. Crap, I forgot. Tari, like Atari, but Tari. I forget the URL real quick. Tari.com, is it? It must be .com. It must be a .com because I know it is .com. Fluffy Pony ain't no joke, guys. Tari.com. It's going to be merge mine with Monero, and it's going to do just that. It's going to be great for non-fungible tokens like tickets. What else? Collectibles. What else is that's non-fungible? Collectibles, art, like you said, right? Like with the rare Pepes, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a boom in like 2017 of the rare Pepes, and there was a Homer Pepe that sold for $40,000 that has its own, its own coin, its own non-fungible coin. So yeah, crypto is just going to keep developing in many awesome ways. So Tari is a project that we are very fond of, and we look forward to its launch, the launch of his mainnet. And it's a kind of a sister project to Monero, and
can you tell us, for those that don't know, what merge mining means? Because there's been a couple projects now that you've said is going to be merge mined with Monero. What does that mean?
Well, so it's like so the same miners that mine Monero will be the same miners that if they choose, they will be able to mine Tari transactions. So they will be able not only to monetize from the Monero
Like at the
network,
same
but also
time?
from the Tari network.
Like simultaneously,
Yeah, simultaneously. Okay. So we used to do this in Bitcoin. So back in the day when I started mining Bitcoin, I would mine under slush pool. And Satoshi also gave us the gift of something called Namecoin. And Namecoin was going to be the Twitter on the blockchain per se. And there was actually a gold rush for Namecoin like names for a time there that even a bunch of Twitter executives bought a bunch of names. It was crazy. But so it was a merge mine coin that you could mine alongside Bitcoin. So that was kind of like the first iteration of like in blockchain history of a merge mine, right? What we got from Satoshi, what we got from the original Bitcoin like contributors, and that was really seen in slush pool within Bitcoin back in the day. I don't know if slush pool is still mining Namecoin. I haven't followed up on Namecoin, but what did happen later on was something called Counterparty, and Counterparty was also a coin that was launched that was also merge mined with Bitcoin. Our dear anarcho-capitalist, Wall Street champion Patrick Byrne saw what these guys at Counterparty were doing, and he actually literally hired those guys and he created Project Medici with them back in the day. This was like 2015, and Project Medici was kind of like to create a blockchain for Wall Street and for NASDAQ and all that. So I don't know if after that happened, after the CEO of Overstock.com, Patrick Byrne, fellow libertarian, Austrian economist, PhD, like badass. After he did that, when he took the Counterparty crew outside of the open source world, Counterparty kind of like fell off the wayside. But a lot of people kept messing with that in crypto, and then we saw the emergence of the rare Pepes, which the person with the question asked, which had to do with doing non-fungible tokens on the BTC blockchain. And then not on BTC, via Counterparty, and the whole rare Pepe meme started growing, and now we all know who Pepe is, right? Mm-hmm. And so the what's happening with Tari is that Tari is going to be akin to Counterparty. What Counterparty was to Bitcoin in the early days is what Tari is going to be for Monero. Properly speaking, if you want to draw analogies here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we leave it there? Hey, Shepard. Shepard thinks in the chat. Good to see you. And Cap, thanks for helping out as always. He's my only mod at this point. I appreciate your help. Sir, thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a great show, a great interview. I've learned a lot. I'm excited about Monero, even more than I already was. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and your work?
Well, we have a YouTube channel. I'm trying to be as discreet as possible with that channel because, I mean, Jeff just got his channel kicked off, which was, I mean, we were waiting for, we were expecting that to happen, but it is what it is. We live in this world, right? It's a Crypto Vigilante channel. I just launched a Spanish one because I've been waiting for many years for someone to do something in Spanish from an anarcho-capitalist perspective. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So it's called El Crypto Vigilante. So it's Crypto Vigilante with EL at the beginning. So El Crypto Vigilante. And I just interviewed who I think back in the day I used to call him endearingly the Mexican Satoshi. He's a badass in Spanish. So please share with anyone that speaks Spanish. And well, we have the Crypto Vigilante newsletter, which is what complements the Dollar Vigilante. And we emphasize on crypto only. That's all we do. We do market analysis almost every day. We have a newsletter as well that does fundamental analysis at least once a month. If you become part of the Crypto Vigilante, you get a package. You also have to become a part of the Dollar Vigilante, and So you're getting fundamental analysis at least minimum 3 times a month on crypto. And on top of that, you're getting technical analysis daily, almost daily, and special reports all the time. So the reason why we aim to be the cheapest, and we're really happy we're the cheapest financial newsletter in the space. And we're also the biggest, the ANCAP, and we're also the biggest financial newsletter in the space. And we like that because the crypto is for everyone, and we want to make it as affordable and as accessible for everyone to get this knowledge, because we're only as strong as our network is. So we want to grow our network, and it's just awesome.
Yes,
the perspective that the team gives crypto.
The important question that must be answered is: do you go on walk-in talks with a dog that likes tacos?
I do, actually, but I do, but I don't know. My dog likes tacos. He just likes steak.
Hey, I like that.
Steak all the time. Yeah, I have a red healer. He's a badass. He comes out, and I have 2 other dogs, a blue healer and a Texas healer as well. So all 3, So when all this craziness started within 2020, I was like, well, if I told myself, if there's ever a time to practice a bug out, this is it. So I simulated the whole thing in my mind, and I bugged out. So the reason why we had a little technical difficulty here is because I'm in the middle of nowhere, dude. Like, I am in the middle of nowhere. I escaped the metropolis. I'm a city boy at heart, but nowadays those are concentration camps, and I don't want to be around these communist slaves. I do not want to be around them. So I'm in the middle of nowhere, and if things get worse, I'll keep like the what they call them, the old Christians of Russia, that they just kept moving further and further into Siberia. I think that's going to be me in my life, but we have the internet. So, I'm becoming something of a country boy now. I like it. I'm starting to hunt. It's fun. And yeah, so where can they find me? Cryptovigilante.io and dollarvigilante.com, guys. That's the place to go. And you have the wisdom of Jeff Berwick and Ed Bugos, who are people that are comfortable with the simple reality that human beings have the right to be free. As simple as that. We have the right to be free. That's it.
Awesome, sir. Well, thank you. It was a great chat, and I hope to do it again in the future when we get some new juicy crypto news. So I appreciate you coming on the show today.
You mean later on this evening?
Yeah, probably.
It's crazy, man.
It's fast.
It's crazy.
It is fast and awesome. All right, sir.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your comments and participation. I enjoy hanging out with you guys always. Peace, love,